So when somebody asked me to do this video, I was already going to do it anyway, but it got bumped to the top of the list. They said there's always been a mystique around the Rick Owens leather jacket. And that is right. I think there's always a mystique when we're putting an animal hide on us. It's very primitive. Proto-humans, of course, killed animals and wore their hides. This is lamb. This is a baby sheep, you know. I mean, that's not nothing. That's not anything to be glib about. It is a life. You are wearing something dead on you, something that was killed. And I think that comes across in Rick Owens' designs. You know, they are a little bit brutalist. I don't think it's trying to hide any of that. I mean, by blistering the leather, you almost kind of bring it out. You sort of bring out its fleshiness. You bring out sort of its vulnerability. And when it comes to Rick Owens leather jackets, at least for the men's collection, no jacket is more sort of ubiquitous than maybe the men's bomber jacket. This is one right here. It is from the fall winter 18 Sisyphus collection. And this one is in the raisin color. It was my first piece of Rick Owens outerwear. I remember opening it up. It just kind of had a smell. It still has that smell if you get up to it. It's got a little bit of kind of rawhide smell mixed in with kind of like a little kind of sweet powdery smell. Something about that is part of the experience. Smell is attached to emotion. If you're excited to get a leather jacket, you kind of remember the way it smells. Let's run through the features. It's got virgin wool cuffs, virgin wool on the back fabric that goes across your neck, and the interior is lined with Rick Owens' signature fine cotton that he does for a lot of his outerwear. On each of the shoulders, there's a paneled shoulder with kind of 3 seams radiating out from the neck. 1, 2, and then 3, one along the back. These look really good when you're wearing them. They just kind of frame the shoulder really nicely. It kind of becomes one of the more standout features when you're wearing it. It does not have a 2-way zipper, 1-way zipper. It has this one snap right here. It has one of my favorite things for Rick Owens, and it's definitely one of the features that you notice most when you're wearing it, is the trapunto leather backing for the zipper. I think it's kind of like a wind stopper, so wind doesn't get through. It just reminds me of 70s design when you see these trapunto features on there. I've always loved them. In terms of fit, it's very high up into the armholes. It gets high in the armholes and then drapes straight down. It really does kind of frame your torso nicely. For a 48, it's pretty tight. It's very tight in the shoulders. I think my shoulders are 17 inches, and this is maybe a 14-inch shoulder. So your shoulders definitely kind of go out here, just a little bit into the top of the sleeve there. Blistered lambskin is definitely one of the things that you'll see constantly in the Rick Owens collections. And it's somewhere between a smooth leather and a suede. It's very light. It does sort of deteriorate a little bit in the spots where the sleeve is going to bunch up or where there's a lot of movement. So if your arms are swiping past here, you can expect there to be a little bit of rub and flake in those wear spots. It has a little bit of a polyamide fill in there, so the lamb leather is very, very light. And then the polyamide fill just gives it a little bit of substance, and it gives it a little bit of cushion. It doesn't make it hot or warm. Early spring, fall, and a little bit, warmer days through winter, this is going to be perfect. It's a quiet jacket. It doesn't draw a ton of attention. It's a pretty versatile jacket. It's too tight on me to layer under. And I think that is one of the things that may make it a little bit less versatile for the more extreme temperatures. One of the things that separates this jacket from the Rotterdam jacket is the knit ribbing around the waist or around the hip. So this is going to stretch and close, which is going to interrupt the line of any long shirt you might be wearing that's not super tight. If you wear a lot of long shirts and you just kind of want to keep that a perfect drape, the bomber jacket, depending on the size, may cinch up and kind of interrupt that line. So something to be aware of. It has 2 interior pockets, easy to put your phone or your wallet in there. I think I also heard one time that Rick Owens responded in an interview that a pocket on your jacket should always be able to hold a sandwich, and you could definitely fit a decent sandwich in there. Goes back pretty far. Here's leather jacket number 2. This is the Rotterdam Cut, and this is also from the Sisyphus collection. It is in the dirty green color, which I love. This jacket gets a lot of compliments. I think people just like the color. It's not a color that you would typically see on a leather jacket. It is more formal than the bomber jacket. The bomber has its own unique military references, but the references on this are the collar, a more formal collar, which is a little bit higher status than a more functional kind of ribbed collar. And then of course it has these epaulettes, which are something that an officer would wear, or something that is just a little bit more formal. It's bringing attention kind of to the top of the shoulders, which I think Rick Owens has said in recent collections where he's exaggerating the shoulders can be about rebellion or authority. But either way, it does kind of make a statement and draw attention up to kind of your strong shoulders there. It's snug all the way down. If I zip it and zip it, down at the hips, it is really tight, and it kind of needs to go up a little bit to my waist in order to kind of be comfortable, and it bunches it up a little bit. We have different arm gussets. So these have sewn in panels that run from down across the ribs to up into the sleeve of the jacket. I'm going to go ahead and assume that that is for either mobility, or it's almost like a raglan sleeve is for the shoulder, where your shoulder will find its natural endpoint. That the same is true for this, that it'll kind of snug into your armpit, naturally kind of where the sleeve would break. It's in the same blistered lambskin, beautiful green, same interior pockets. Has this sleeve pocket that comes in handy for a few things. Unlike the bomber jacket, as we were talking about, this does not pull or cinch in. It's just kind of flat leather here. So if you have it open, whatever shirt you have on, it's just going to go straight down. It's not going to get pinched right there. Whereas the bomber jacket has a central seam down the back, this is broken up into 3 seams, and that's to give it sort of a slight taper as it goes down towards the waist and hips. Unlike the bomber jacket, it does not have a trapunto wind blocker behind the zipper. It does have some material, but it's not kind of that thick quilted material. When I got these jackets, they have a very dry hand. Being as dry as they are, I wondered if they needed a little bit of leather conditioner. So I sent an email to Rick Owens, and they got back to me. They were very polite and very helpful in answering my questions, so I'll share that with you. I hope this email finds you well. Our blister leather has already been treated with specific products. We therefore suggest to avoid any other products on it so that the leather texture won't be altered. We also strictly recommend not covering your jackets with plastic bags, otherwise the leather may dry out. I hope I've been able to help you, but please feel free to contact us again if you have any further questions or concerns. That definitely addressed my question, and I appreciated that. So there's really no upkeep that you have to worry about with the jackets because they've already been treated. I think that's the other nice thing about the blistered lamb leather is that you don't have to be overly concerned about the little nicks and scrapes and cuts. Those things just add character and really kind of fit in with the whole texture and blistering of the leather. The other thing I would say about these jackets is this, maybe it's because they are light, it's easy to dress up, it's easy to, you know, dress down and be casual in. They're just super versatile. The last thing I'll say about this one is getting those two leather jackets in the mail. You know, it was super exciting. They were beautiful. They fit so tight. I didn't know if I could wear them or not, but the more I wore them, the more the fit made sense, having the super high armholes and the close shoulders there. The one thing that I did notice though is I needed to be wearing something pretty trim underneath it. You know, I can't layer under these. I can't wear a sweatshirt under these. If I were to buy, you know, other jackets down the road that are in these cuts, I would definitely size up just so I can put a little bit more clothing underneath it, and that would make it a lot more versatile. As it is, these are very trim, and that's not an accident. That's the way they were styled, but something to keep in mind. And lastly, we're going to take a look at a jacket that I just got recently, and this one is from Fall Winter 17, which would have been the glitter collection, and it is in the ram leather. This jacket is heavier than both of those other jackets combined. It is a very thick, juicy, smooth leather with a very broad, rumply grain, and it is beautiful. One of the first reasons that I was really interested in this is there are a lot of movies from sort of the 80s, 90s, where you have bondage and sadomasochism is kind of coming into the films in different ways. So there's one like Dark City, you know, they have this and the high collar. Definitely Hellraiser. There's something about these that was sensual and dramatic and otherworldly, and definitely kind of brutalist and sort of sculptural rigidity that was definitely capturing the imagination of people when I was growing up. Like the others, it has arms that extend below the hem of the jacket, something you see in a lot of, you know, women's jackets or men's jackets that are cropped. So again, another trim jacket that's sitting at about here, and it has sleeves that are probably even a little bit longer for the size, so they kind of stack up a little bit. It's got this hourglass shape right here, which is almost like, I don't know, Black Widow-ish. It has 4 pockets. It has some trapunto stitching right here, which is definitely one of the reasons that I got it. And of course, this big funnel collar right here that kind of, I think it even goes kind of up to my nose when I put it on. And then this big heavy leather, I mean, it's one of those things that it definitely has that ancient sort of feeling. I think Rick Owens is getting a little bit more contemporary maybe in his fabrics, where he used to be thinking a little bit more about ancient, primitive, brutalist sort of things. Now he's a little bit more maybe into the digital age, experimenting with fabrics that are laser cut. It's a little bit lighter. There's definitely a lot more nylon in there, definitely a lot more puffer jackets. So he's very much more into the 21st century. This is more of a throwback to kind of the Stone Age, which is why I love it. Similar to the Rotterdam jacket, it has the 3 panels. Even bigger than the bomber jacket, it has this very wide trapunto leather wind blocker that goes behind the zipper. It has the 2 signature Rick Owens interior pockets, and when the jacket is hanging open, it really does peel away from the collar and kind of drape across the shoulder, just because there's so much weight there. I mean, that's kind of one of the effects of having these little sewn in pieces right here, is that you're creating a big triangle of heavy fabric right here that's pretty much gonna fall right there. It's kind of gonna break on that line that you've kind of picked out, you know, because you've made a very stiff area here, kind of at the solar plexus, it's going to flop over and break just about there. Another interesting detail would be on this back, just a very high back collar right here. And it has the function of keeping the collar very high. So I think some of the women's jackets, you know, almost like, you know, flower petals, they kind of ribbon up and go across the chest there. On this jacket, the opposite is true. It's keeping the back of the collar high so that the funnel comes out like this. It does drape over a little bit, but it's not kind of collapsing in on itself. It's just creating this peak of leather right here in the back. So those are the Rick Owens leather jackets in my collection at the moment. The jackets are a great way to tap into the design DNA of Rick Owens's whole world, his whole collection, just because they are such a core part of the identity of his collections. Everything seems to kind of go back to some of the original jackets that he was making in 1997. And in terms of the Mystique, there's absolutely a Mystique with these, and I think it's just because, you know, kind of circling back to it, you're wearing something that's dead on your body. It is flesh. It's just a little bit inescapable that it has a whiff of death about it. It's something I'll be a little bit more conscious of moving forward. I didn't realize kind of how much in the back of my mind it was until I went to make this video. But it's worth sparing a thought for the living thing that this came from. So I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Don't subscribe, and I'll see you next time.